Hey guys, and welcome to Star Technology Progression Log 9. Holy crap, have I got some stuff to show you this week. I've had an exceptionally productive week. Not only in GregTech actually, but also in writing. I've had the best week of writing in since I came down with RSI, which is crazy. Um, anyway, that's something else, and maybe I'll talk about more of that later. But um, there have been some serious upgrades to basically almost every portion of the base in some fashion. There are a few outlying areas that haven't really gotten touched too much just because I haven't really needed to. Um, but the real winner of this week has been On Demand. On Demand has seen some absolutely massive changes. And first, we'll start over here. One thing is I was actually running out of channels over here, and I was filling out a whole dense cable. Technically, the dense cable over here supplies two different regions. It was supplying this side and this side, but this is only using like 20 channels. But it was literally filling this dense cable here. So what I did was I added two more P2Ps. So we have one that feeds this section. It's a tiny, tiny bit of a waste since there's only 22 channels over there, and it's not really going to grow too much. Um, and this one probably should have been pushed a little bit farther out that way, but I didn't really feel like it, so I didn't do it. I didn't really mind. I did swap out a bunch of these cables. I might have actually done this last week. I just never brought it up because I kind of forgot. I did swap out some areas, some large stretches of cable with wireless. I haven't done it entirely, mostly because it really wasn't um, serious rewiring changes. It was basically just cutting out cable, and I didn't really feel like doing it after a certain point. Oh, let me take a sip of my drink. All right, but one other way of saving a whole bunch of channels, as in one of the biggest consumer of channels, was my little stack of molecular assemblers. They ate a lot of channels because every molecular assembler wanted a channel and every pattern provider wanted a channel. And there were a lot of them in there. So it was quite a few channels. I don't remember how many it was. It would have been like 3 by 3 by, I think it was like 6. So that'd be 9, so that'd be like 50 odd, a little over 50 channels. 50 to 60 channels in total. Um, and instead, what I did, and because also there's multiple tiers of molecular assembler as well. I was just using the regular base ones, and they were all unupgraded, so they were kind of slow. But you can upgrade to the extended molecular ones. We could have been doing this for a while. They're not that expensive, and they're 8 times faster because I believe they run 8 jobs at once, or they're 16 times faster. They can run 8 at once, and they can run them twice as fast. But instead of just going straight to that one and having the channel problem, I instead made the assembler matrix. This is basically all it does is eat a single channel, and it's 7 by 7 by 7. It's up to 7 by 7 by 7 outer edge cube, and you have to fill all of it with various different blocks. There's like these pattern. I think they actually maybe like assembler. Yeah. So you have pattern cores, craft cores, and speed cores. Craft cores are basically just the extended molecular assemblers. Speed cores are just acceleration cards, and pattern cores are basically just extended pattern providers. You fill them all up. You just have to fill the whole interior volume here. Um, and I have about room for 1,000 patterns in here. 5 craft core or 5 speed cores, and the rest are craft cores. So it's quite a lot. This is exceptionally fast, and I'm very happy with it. So this kind of solved my molecular assembler problem. It was kind of an outdated system that hadn't really been upgraded because in most cases it really wasn't the bottleneck for most of the on-demand stuff. Mostly because the biggest on-demand we use in most crafting is down crafting wires. How I craft wires is I use the wire mill for the 16x version and then down craft into whatever tier I need. 8x, 4x, 1x, 2x, 1x. So, and that was never really the bottleneck because everything else was pretty slow. Or I should say was pretty slow. The LCRs got I think this was actually last week. Maybe. I forget. I should have watched last week's video so I could remember what I did. I also should use my clipboard and keep track that way. But if I didn't, I reworked both of these things. I'm pretty sure I did. But I did actually. No, I did do this week. This week is so what I've done is I started actually switching to tiny subnets for all of my big multi-blocks, using stocking input buses and stocking hatches. This is actually really interesting. So With the program circuit card, the stocking input buses here can't accept those. However, so what you can do instead, so you need regular input buses with storage buses, right? So what you do here is I just fill this with a dummy item that's not using anything. In this case, it's a stone sword, and this will actually change the circuit. So I just use the ULV input bus on each pair over there with a storage bus, and then it'll change this circuit. It won't fill it with items because it has a stone sword in there that will never get used for anything. So it stays there forever. And it works very, very well. I have a drive here with a 4K item and a 4K fluid cell. It will just dump a bunch of items in here. This uses the do not push crafting ingredients of Embed, so just regular blocking mode. There are some other variants that I'll mention a little bit when we get to the clean room. Uh, so this can do huge batches of items at once if I really want to. This thing doesn't really do massive batches because I don't really want to do massive batches for most things. But, oof, let me take a drink. All right. So, uh, I really like this LCR. I finally fixed my on-demand LCRs because they were dog shit before, and I still don't like on-demand LCRs, just like on principle. But this is fine. I don't really use this for too many things. What I did set this up for, most of this stuff is Crown, uh, precursors as well as the Crown variants. 12 Crown 4, 15 Crown 5, and 18 Crown 6. These are for mystical agriculture, which is something else that I've done, and I'll get into that in a little bit, as well as creating the various dyes. I was doing silicone rubber, or what I'm doing is I'm doing the liquid silicone rubber on demand, but I'm doing the polydimethylsiloxane dust on passive. This is a really quick recipe, so I don't really mind doing this specific stage on demand. It's a little bit cursed, but I didn't really feel like putting up a passive LCR just for that, honestly. The vacuum freezers need to be rebuilt again, honestly. I fixed it a little bit for what it was before, but I just need to rebuild it again. Um, Specifically, I need to rebuild it using the drive methodology that I built for a lot of other uh, I'll let you know a lot of the other multi-block systems and stuff, but I just didn't. Only half of the stuff actually works for some of these recipes, and I just really never got around to hooking it up. I should, but busy. Um, I have an arc furnace, a large arc furnace here for multi-block stuff with just regular, just a first tier parallel hatch. I did this just because I needed an arc furnace, and I was like, oh, I have a big spot. I want to upgrade the arc furnace because there's like glass and stuff. That'd be nice to have. And I wanted to get away from the HV stuff, and I felt like it was time to upgrade. There's not too many things we really do in the arc furnace. The big thing is just glass. I also annealed copper that does get used in, I believe it's one of the tiers of boards. I forget exactly what tier of board it is. It would be in here, I believe. Fiber reinforced? Yeah, it gets used in fiber reinforced. Which is not crafting, which makes me concerned. You could do it. I don't know why you're not working. I have to go check the requester, I guess. That's annoying. Anyway, over here, oh yes, I replaced the extractor over here with an extractor multi-block. I found that out of pretty much everything that I had, the extractor was by far and away the biggest bottleneck when it came to things like bulks. They were super duper slow. Just making all the Skystone alloys took frickin' forever. So I replaced this with just an extracting machine. It's with the master parallel control hatch. Yes, I do have that now. And this is super fast and I love it. A lot of the other things have just been upgraded. They're the same as they were before. They've just been upgraded with 16-inch IV hatches, so they're super duper fast as well. Eventually, I am going to want to move to the IV multi-blocks for on-demand because I do have the 16-inch hatches. So at this point, once you have 16x, the IV multi-blocks break even with the single blocks, but they can do batches, which I'm not sure if I want. I'm not sure if it's really necessary. Once I hit 64x, that's when I definitely need to change over and when they'll be faster. But for now, it's only an option that I'm only really sort of considering. Um, I have two more over here, or three more over here. I have the large electromagnetic for polarizing. This was I had another scenario where polarizer was really slow. It was still on HV, especially for things like Certus quartz. It was really quite slow. And I was really getting annoyed. So I have this one, and this is also an IV. I have before I only had an HV polarizer. I needed an EV, I think, for samarium magnetic rods. Long magnetic. Yeah, this was an IV recipe. Is this an IC? Yeah, this is also an IV recipe. So I would have had to make a single block IV polarizer, and I was like, there's no point when I can just make the multi block with a 16 amp IV hatch and it'd be turbo fast and stuff. It'd be really great. Um, Over here I have a chemical bath because the chemical bath I still had a single block EV one and that was mega slow, especially when it came to making things like Eyes of Ender for crafting lots and lots of flux storages. Like if I want to craft, say, I probably should just craft 5 more of these. It has to make 1,000 Eyes of Ender, and that was so slow. It was so slow. And now it's actually like crazy fast. Let's see how fast it is. And it does 16 in 6 ticks. Over here, it spends more time on the downtime. I might up the batch size on, say, Flux Dust so it can hand out more. But it is running 4 LCRs at LUV speeds, so it's pretty freaking fast. I don't like how it was making Netherrack. That might be a pattern conflict that I have to take a look at. Anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna have to cancel that. That was odd. I'll have to fix that later. Um, I was wondering, I did have some redstone left over in uh the system once, and I got really confused. I guess that's what happened. There was a recipe conflict with Netherrack and Flux Dust. That is odd. It's probably like a circuit number, and it probably just fucked up the circuit number, I bet. See, this is no circuit. I bet Flux Dust is like circuit 1. Yeah. Okay, that'll be interesting. I'll have to figure out why it's not working. Anyway, but yeah, I also added a macerator over here. The macerator was also a pretty large bottleneck, especially when it came to also to making a lot of steel alloys like fluix steel and stuff like that. Um, so I went to a large macerator instead. I've slowly been pulling out all these HV ones. The last single block HV, or I guess like the last single blocks in general, are the fluid solidifiers as well as the canner. The canner can get another multi-block. It'll be another one of these things. As for the fluid solidifier, I'm not really exactly sure where I'm going to put it. I'm probably waiting to... Honestly, I haven't really put this fluid solidifier or another canner in because I'm thinking about moving those vacuum freezers over here to the brand new area where I've added lots of other multi-blocks. Because as you guys noticed, the ABS was gone because I instead have 5 ABSs with HSSG coils running at ZPM. I could overclock these things to UV. I probably will. That is exceptionally power hungry. It'll be about 2 million FE per a pop while they're running. I have 4 multi-smelters and 4 alloy smelters over here, all at HSSG with 4 amp IP hatches. These don't really need to be overclocked to like super high speeds because they're already super fast and they do pretty high parallels with HSSG coils. I think it's like 2 stacks at once. Yeah, it's 2 stacks at once, so they don't need to be. They're already crazy fast. And these ones, thank you, Razer, for telling me what throughput boosting is. These things are awesome. These are like the mid ground. These are hardened industrial furnaces, and these are like the mid ground between your regular EBF and the RHF, which is like the UHV massive IV multi block. Um, these things can only accept one parallel hatch, or sorry, not parallel hatch, only one energy hatch. But they offer throughput boosting, which means they have an innate 4 parallels if you feed them 4 parallels worth of items. They're a little bit slower. Like if we actually just pull up the quest book, mechanics, where are you? Machine mode throughput boosting. Here we go. So it will process all 4 at once. It increases the duration by 40%, but it reduces the power cost by 10%. So it's a little bit cheaper on power overall, but it's a little bit slower. But it will do 4 at once. I've been told this is about 3 times as fast, effectively, is what it turns out to be, which is very, very nice. So I've been using these things for a lot of my bulk stuff. The downside is they do have a limit of, they can only take one LUV hatch, so you can't up tier, basically. So you still need to eat the EBFs for stuff. Um, but I won't need too many of them, and those recipes will that are in the EBF will get moved out pretty quickly. Like these have been upgraded to LUV specifically because things like hot osmium or osmium ingots require LUV. So if I want to cook that in here, which I do because this is mega slow, um, even when done in the EBS, I should say. I would like to do that on bulk. We don't use too much osmium, but I do when I do have to do it, I would like to make sure it's fast because I'm impatient. So we have two of these things, and they're super fast, and I love them, and they're awesome. But so yeah, we have a lot of very, very powerful on-demand systems, and it's really been paying off. I've been staying away a little bit from passive EBFs in general this run, unlike what I did with Monty Factory. I found that most things can be done on demand without needing passive stuff. I don't really need passive tungsten ingots, things like that. Especially, lots of the dusts get used as alloys later on or whatever, and it's fine. So I do have some things in like in EBFs as well. Things like processing ilmenite, making titanium. I do want to make stainless steel on passive at some point, just because I use a lot of that stuff, and that's probably worth saving time on. Uh, I also make steel on passive because I use a lot of that stuff as well. Uh, but yeah, so like we also process the titanium tetrachloride over here. Titanium tetrachloride is a byproduct from netherite line as well as knack line. We don't have knack line set up though, but it also comes from there. Um, this just produces titanium with hydrofluoric acid, which is nice because that hydrofluoric acid is useful. It does get used for stuff, which is I like it. I don't know what it gets used in around the base. It's primarily, I believe, it's uraninite processing. We will use it as well, a bunch of that stuff when it comes to knack line, because you do need fluoroantimonic acid for that. Oh, I also use it in PTFE, but I don't really use too much PTFE. So, oh, I could go up to a better recipe for this. Interesting. Anyway, so coming back over here now, we'll talk about the clean rooms, and the clean rooms have gotten some massive upgrades. I finally got around, so not only did I have, last time I only had was the circuit assembler. Now I have the cutter, two regular assemblers, and the laser engraver in terms of the big multi-blocks. All of these are really nice. I did more of these like drive subnets and stuff. This one over here is for dynamic circuits, so it can accept it has a regular input bus here with all filled with stone swords, so it can swap circuits and stuff. Over here has specific circuits that have been set. Like this one is that one's not in use, or this one might be like no circuit or something. Oh yeah, hold on. Let me go ahead and set this to like no circuit. Um, and then over here I forgot to set these circuits, but they've been working fine, I guess. I've been using these things for like cable coding. These ones, I also have things like circuit 4 over here. I have circuit 1. So things that I want on a dedicated circuit are going to be there. I don't know if I'm going to keep it that way. I might switch over to just have two assemblers that will both do dynamic stuff. Um, the one reason why I would like to have multiple circuits on, multiple subsystems for multiple circuits is one of the things I've noticed is that the AE2 downtime between batches is actually um, sort of the bottleneck for a lot of these machines because I might actually swap away from using regular output buses because these are pretty slow. They only trigger every couple of seconds, which means, I mean, they push all of their items at once, right? So it's not like they have a limited throughput rate. They just do it in slower in batches that are less often, which is good for lag. It makes it so it's less laggy, but it also means there's some pretty big downtime in between uh, crafts, especially if they're like in sequence for small batches and stuff. And I don't really want to do like massive, huge batches for some components at this stage, because some of them are pretty expensive, especially with things when it comes to like hatches and energy hatches and things like that. Um, so yeah, all of these are also overclocked to UV speeds. Both, I believe the circuit assembler over here is as well. The cutter is as well. All of these things have been overclocked to massive amounts. Just because I want them to be super fast. The cutter is still actually like kind of slow, especially mostly just when it comes to cutting HPICs. I've noticed HPIC wafers are slow as hell to cut. Um, 5.6 seconds for two. Can you believe it? I have to wait a whole almost 6 seconds. It's disgusting. It's terrible. Anyway, over here I have the LUV, or I have a cutter as, or not a cutter, sorry, an engraver. This is also at LUV, or well, LUV recipes at ZPM. And I just plunked all of these recipes back on here. The other engravers were really slow, taking almost like a minute in some cases for some of those recipes, and I will not have it. Um, I didn't upgrade the pattern providers because there really aren't that many recipes that go into a single laser. Like Orange Laser makes one wafer type, so there's no point in giving this thing an extended pattern provider when even a regular one would do. But I just moved the one I had. Like yellow over here, this makes two or a few recipes, but none of them I'm gonna make except for one, like the socks and stuff. So like, who cares, right? Um, but yeah, this is great. The assembler or the large LCR over here is at IV to ZPM, so that's a 16 amp ZPM or IV hatch, I should say. I probably should swap this out with a 16 amp LUV hatch, just because I want this to be super, super ultra fast. But I haven't gotten around to that yet. Honestly, it's pretty fast as it is right now. Perfect overclocks go crazy. I do eventually want to have 4 of these things just so I can do them in batches of 4, but it's fine as is. I still need to do the autoclave. The autoclave is still pretty slow. It just doesn't get used very often, so I'm not really all that concerned about it. Its biggest thing, it gets used in carbon fibers, which is admittedly pretty damn slow. And I can do this better with epoxy. I just need to update this recipe and stuff. But it's not been a bottleneck in the grand scheme of things, so it's kind of like whatever. I still have the ME assemblers over here. I do want to change that. I actually can, because I have the LUV energy hatches on the assemblers. Uh, it means I can do LUV recipes, which means I can now make the ME assembler. Because the ME assembler is gated to LUV assemblers, because it requires, it's the computer casings, I believe, uh, for the high power casings, I believe. I'm pretty sure something over here was relegated to LUV. It must have been the high power casings. No, actually, I am so stupid. I thought this was gated to LUV. You want to know what was gated to LUV? The actual computer casings. These are gated to LUV, and I was stupidly thought these were used in large ME assembler, and they're not. I've been able to make this for quite some time. Oh, I feel stupid now. Anyway. Oh, well. I still need the computer casings for some other stuff. Things like the research station, which I'm gonna need to get into. We're gonna need to make that for HPCA's network switches, but these are not for a while. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? Folding Acrium stabilizer. What the hell? Okay, never mind. Not gonna think about that. Also databanks. Databanks are gonna be pretty nice. Uh, I believe those also use computer casings. Yes. So, uh, I I guess I didn't need the wait on the ME assembler. So I guess I can build that. I have been able to build that this week. I just haven't gotten around to it because I have so many other things I've been working on, and I'm not really crafting as many bulk drives as I was. I still am, and I still definitely should make the ME assembler, but it won't go in a clean room because these ME assemblers have never needed to go into the clean room. I just put them in here because the other circuit assemblers were here, and I just felt like putting them here as well. Um, but I do need to move some other machines over here for that. I was planning on putting it somewhere over here. I do want to move the EBFs out, and I want to move the vacuum freezer out. So I'm going to put some other machines here eventually, like a fluid solidifier, and then I'm going to want to put, uh, you know, when I move out the blast furnace, the EBFs here, I'm going to want to put at least a couple. I think I can probably fit 2 ME assemblers in here. I don't know if I'm going to build more than 2. I don't know if I'm going to need more than 2. So I don't know. That's something to decide for later. Um, I'm actually low key a tiny bit mad that I didn't realize that I didn't need computer casings for the heavy assembler. I don't know why I thought I did. I guess I just, when I looked at the computer, I went, oh yes, computer casings. What do I need for this? LUB. Oh, okay. I guess I can't do it. And I never stopped to think about what I actually needed on that multi-block. I'm surprised the high power casings aren't required for LUV. Anyway. Um, None of this will not be too expensive. It's just very large. I could probably order this later. I don't know. But that is not all that has been done. I would like to talk. What? Oh, you know what? Here, we'll talk about over here. I did rework the centrifuges over here. I needed more. The two that I had were just not going to keep up in the long run, like by far. I also they're still at LUV. They're all still at the same speed, so they're super duper ultra fast, which is good because honestly, they're keeping up for now. But once I start throwing higher tier parallel hatches in like the 64X and the nuclear reactors, shit's gonna get crazy over here. I'm gonna have to probably swap these out for the actual multi-block versions. But I also swapped these out for bulk drives as well because I was actually voiding plutonium, which is something I don't really want to do. Um, I do have absolutely monstrous amounts of plutonium 241, which will be useful later. It won't be useful now. It'll be useful once we get into the auxiliary fusion reactors, assuming I even get that far. That's like post classic gate, so I don't know if I'm gonna go that far, which is I don't know. We'll have to figure that out later. But if I do get that far and I do need plutonium, boom, plenty of plutonium for fusion. Um, Over here, I added some more. Well, I added another pair of extractors, or well, canners, I guess in this case. Um, but the only one of them is actually built. The other one is just like the casings and stuff. This one also just makes enriched uranium. You can get away with fewer, like for enriched uranium rods, it's 1-to-1 in terms of extra canners to reactors. In terms of the thorium ones, it's like 2 to 3, um, just because they're a little bit faster than how fast they're consumed. So I have plenty of fuel rods over here, and all of these things have been swapped with the 16x hatches because all of these ones over here have been swapped with the 16x hatches, except for this one. I do need to get around to it, but it's kind of fine. I don't really care all that much. The rest of them are super duper ultra fast. I do actually, if I want to keep up on the enriched uranium, I do need to swap this out. I think I just probably never crafted it. Yeah, give me like 4 more. I'm sure I'll find uses for them. I don't know why you need to craft that. I don't know why the requester didn't fix that. I'll have to go take a look at that later. But I guess I'll just go ahead and order that now anyway. Good luck. Have fun. Oh, we can go take a look at how much power I'm using too. I've been really spamming the hell out of these flux storages. I have quite a lot of buffer. Really quite a lot. What's that? 3.5 trillion. So that's million, billion, trillion. Yeah. And currently eating like 8 million RF a tick. I'm only producing 5 million. But this is the power of a buffer. This is why we make them. And all of them turn on. Boom! Look at that go. Look at all those EBFs go. I've been relying on the EBFs for most ingots when I can, just because it cuts out slow mixer steps, and it does them in pretty large batches as well. Um, so yeah, look at that. 15 seconds for a bunch of molten ruidite. Normally that stuff is super duper slow. Oh, I actually forgot over here to talk about the assembly line. So the assembly line, unlike in Mono Factory, does require. So in Mono Factory, the assembly line doesn't really care about what order items were inserted or where they were inserted in the storage buses, for instance. In StarTech, that is not true. It does matter. You need to put the first item in the first bus, the second item in the second bus, the third item in the third bus. This is not a difficult problem to solve. This problem is solved by using simply the priority system on the storage buses, because if you look at the recipes, here actually we'll go to the mainframe. We do have quantums now. I'll mention that in a second. So when you look at this recipe, how A2 works is it applies items in the order from left to right, top to bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is the first item, so it's inserted first. So it's really easy. All you have to do is use the storage priority system. Boom, done. Problem solved. Um, so I have a max sized assembly line here, so it can do any recipe that I could possibly want it to do. Uh, I have a terminal here in case I need to pull items out. It helps debugging so I don't have to go through every single bus. That did happen a couple of times where I had to debug some stuff. and it made things very, very nice. We just have a regular non-opal input hatch here, just for fluids. I don't believe we have that many fluids, but I wanted it just anyway. Might as well, right? Um, we're only using the regular, unfortunately, the regular data access hatch, and this is full. I forget what I need. I think I need a research station for the next tier of access hatch. Yes, yeah. I might just go data bank. I don't. I do need to build a data bank. I believe this is actually totally doable. Yeah, now that I have LUV, I can make a data bank. Data orb is. This is also totally doable. So, Databank is something I need to upgrade to, and I actually should probably add more assembly lines. Obviously, this has been upgraded to with an LUV 16 hatch, and it's just got a second one that's not powered. It just needs two in order to do the recipe higher. It doesn't need two that are powered. So even though that's 18 amps worth of draw, it can only consume up to 16 amps worth of power. So you don't need to plug this one in. Um, so yeah, UV speeds, which is very, very fast for many of the recipes that'll go in here. There's just one of them, so it has to do a whole bunch. I am still not exactly sure how I would easily parallelize them in terms of just having to have lots of pattern providers. Uh, which, yeah, I guess I could just do that. And I probably wouldn't really be a problem. There's definitely some fancy logic you could do. I've seen it before. I don't know if I'll be able to figure that out. I don't know. We'll have to see. Oh, this actually reminds me. I needed to talk about the blocking mode over here. So, because oh no, I'm in the assembler. Get me out of here. Because of how circuit numbers work, especially for things like dynamic, I have to use blocking mode here. Where's like one right here? Which one I use? This one's on dynamic actually. I don't have a circuit one. Here we go. So a lot of these things might have different circuit numbers. Things like the various crates or whatever. Um, yeah, here. Circuit number, circuit number. Uh, what else is a circuit number? I don't know. Things in here have circuit numbers, like the lamps and stuff. So if it tries to push multiple patterns here, it'll get all cluttered and things will break and it'll be really bad. But if I want to order, like, say, a bajillion lamps, it's only crafting one at a time. There are two ways of making sure it can do a bunch at a time. And the first way is just to make this pattern bigger. And this pattern should be bigger. I just never updated this one. The other option is, so we have blocking mode to make sure they don't get messed up, but there's an advanced blocking mode now because I'm in A to 3, and this allows the same pattern to be pushed. So this button here goes, okay, you can't push other patterns, but you're allowed to push the same pattern a whole bunch of times. And this is really nice in many instances. Most of these multi-blocks have specifically the same pattern to be pushed for dynamic. Um, in terms of something like frames, there's ignore contents. It doesn't matter because the items will never get mixed. If you add steel rods and say tungsten rods, you're not gonna get like a half tungsten, half steel frame. There's only one thing it can do with that, and it's only ever passing them in batches that could be equal to one frame. So there's no risk of a pattern conflict here fucking something up. So we're fine for so you don't need blocking mode in all instances, but in say like the assembler you do, and you actually do have to make sure it doesn't try and push multiple patterns at once. I don't think you can do that. I think that might be a problem. So I have that down here on all default blocking mode. So there's also one where it blocks if any items, not just pattern input. Uh, I don't really want to press this button because I'm worried if it'll fuck it up. Let me actually pull a pattern provider out. We have default blocking mode, blocks if target contains anything, and allows same pattern to be pushed. So there's three different modes on that. I haven't used the block anything yet. I don't know what kind of use case that would have just yet, but yeah. I think that's probably it for this side of the base. We're gonna go talk about over here, which is the new mystical agriculture section. And MA is very interesting, I would say. I'd actually say it has some. Oh my god, get out of here. I wish there was like a trader carpet that would stop these guys from spawning. Because the wandering trader himself doesn't generate, but the llamas do. And there's so fucking many of them. I have so many goddamn leads. Okay, most of them are getting voided, I guess, which is fine. Almost because I tossed most of them off the edge. Give me a second. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, so mystical agriculture, I was looking into it. At first, I thought it would turbo, super, ultra, mega suck. And it only kind of, sort of sucks a little bit. It actually does have some pretty fun things. Well, I guess first I'll get into how this setup works. This is a requester-based subnet, which is why there are 4 crafting CPUs over here. I probably don't need that many, but I do. Some of these machines are just turned off because I don't need them to run right now. Most of these machines are going to get replaced as soon as I progress through Mystical Agriculture, and I actually like Mystical Agriculture's progression. I do. So first off, how Mystical Agriculture starts is you start off with making a Infernium essence. This is the first step. You make it by mixing phosphorus, beryllium, and liquid glowstone. And then, as soon as you have your first infernium, you can actually replicate it in an essence replicator. The essence replicator is perfect overclock and can use parallel hatches. We are running this at, I believe, I'm giving this a 16 amp IV hatch. Yes. Right? So this doesn't require a catalyst. Higher tier essences, if replicated, do require a catalyst. Um, we can take a look at this one. So Infernium uh, doesn't require a catalyst, as you can see. Prudentium, if you want to replicate that, does require a catalyst of some kind. Uh, I believe you can use anything. Fernium, here we go. There's Cryptand here, and there's Crown, 12 Crown 4 Li. The chemical looping is a little bit weird, and I'll explain that in a second. But I right now, apparently it's better to replicate once you have the Cryptan stuff, but up until then, it's really not worth it. Um, I don't know. I probably could have really wanted to, but I don't really care all that much. I'm just throwing power at the problem. So right now, we use the Essence Replicator to make Infernium Essence, and we have a shitload of that. And then you can use this machine over here, which is the Essence Enhancer. If we go into the Essence Enhancer, this just throws a whole bunch of power into it to make the next tier essence. And this is a little bit slow, but it does do perfect overclocks. And we are overclocking this to ZPM, so in the end, it's actually pretty fast. Especially with the Master Parallel Control Hatch, it can get pretty slow for the higher tier recipes, like going up to Tertium and stuff. But it's fine. We don't really use it all that much. And instead of doing something funky with like toggle buses and shit like that, instead, I just have a requester here that just keeps a number of these things in stock. It has a pattern provider down here. I don't actually have it right here. Essence enhancer, and it can just craft them in batches of 32. And it'll just keep the whole system stockpiled with those things. We also have to talk about chemical looping. And when it comes, the reason why you need chemical looping is for essence burning as well as some of the replicator. Let's see. So for something like basalts, like the whole point of mystical agriculture right now is to make sure that I don't have to do nether stars the stupid and bad way, which is all those chemicals and the mixers, and it's really annoying and really expensive and really slow, and I hate it. But we can get this stuff via mystical agriculture. So Basal's dust or essence we can use to make a seed, and we can use the Basal's seed to grow Basal's essence. Basal's essence is then can be essence burned with a catalyst of some kind to make the shards, which we can then process in the rest of the line. That's per normal. However, some of these essence burning recipes require a catalyst of some kind. There are 2 different tiers of catalyst for basalts, and that is one at IV and one at ZPM. The one at IV uses 12 crown 4 Li, and this makes 12 crown 4, so it consumes the lithium part of that catalyst. There's also Cryptand, 2.2.2 Cryptand Li. Cryptand is a much higher tier recipe and requires ZPM to make and use and stuff, so there's no point in messing with this right now. So with crown, there are 3 forms of crown solvents or hydrocarbons, whatever they are. We have 12 crown 4 Li, we have 15 crown 5 sodium, and we have 18 crown 6 potassium. I haven't requested the other potassium one. Um, these 12 crown and 15 crown have to be recycled together in limited amounts, as in to make 12 crown 4 Li requires lithium perchlorate and sodium dust. This makes a sodium perchlorate dust. Sodium perchlorate is used in making 15 crown 5 sodium, which gives you the lithium perchlorate dust back. So you have to balance the consumption of 15 crown and 12 crown together. 18 crown doesn't have to be balanced as much because this just uses rock salt and produces salt. So this is recycled on its own without needing to balance it with another chemical. This just really isn't used for all that much stuff. I don't believe it's going to be used for anything that I currently plan to use at this stage. Uh, yeah, I probably really won't use this for now. I did want to make it just in case I did want to. Uh, just in case I wanted to use it for something. I just wanted to have all three. Um, What's nice is all you have to do is just prime the system with a little bit of crown first, and then as long as you balance it correctly, it'll uh, recycle itself. So I just made a bunch of. Basically I had a drive here, crown hydrocarbons. I just partitioned a drive, and then I made that in mainnet. That's what I used all the on-demand stuff for. Filled that drive with whatever the priming stuff, and then brought it over here to the subnet. Um, I don't really need. I made like 64 buckets of each. I'm sure that'll be enough for quite a while. I don't really expect to have to scale. Okay, so you do need a decent amount of mystical agriculture for CSG, Classic Stargate, which is so far the goal for this run. Um, I don't know if I'll go beyond that. I don't know how much you need for that. I do know that I couldn't just, try and make it stupid so I could get good nether stars. I had to do it well. Um, so this is my attempt to do it well. Uh, so far it's going all right. It's pretty damn slow. I have the reason why I'm using 47 million single blocks over here is because there aren't any multi-blocks for mystical agriculture. They're all single blocks. And EV was the tier that I felt like it was the best to spam. There's only a few recipes that are IV or higher. There's like three. I think it's like tungsten, ilmenite, and I don't remember. Let's see, greenhouse. Nequata is LUV, I believe. So all these EV, HV. Which one are you? Here we go. Barium, oddly, was barium and tungsten. I get why tungsten's IV, but I don't know why barium was IV. We don't use barium at all. I haven't used barium in anything. Um, so it seemed kind of strange that that's like such a high tier greenhouse recipe. We also have Naquita somewhere. That one's LUB. There it is, down here. Naquita, and everything else is EV or below. So I'm not going to grow barium, and I'm probably not going to grow tungsten, just because... excuse me. Um, just because I have good ore processing, and MA really isn't great for most things. I'll grow Naquita, I believe. That might be something I want to do. Because Naquita either comes from mystical agriculture with essence burning. Oh my god, this is a UV recipe? What the fuck? Ugh. So probably not for a while. Jesus Christ. Anyway, the other way is to do a dimensional stabilizer with another star shard. This is not actually that bad. This multi-block, I believe, is pretty big. Yeah, it is. Whoo, boy. Oh, that's going to be interesting to build. Anyway, so I have to do a bunch of these single blocks, and there's no alternative. And as well as there's no essence burners over here, those will be done on demand as well. Like I said, many of these machines will be swapped out as progression continues. And now I'll talk about Mystical Agriculture MA progression, which is actually a lot of fun. I really enjoyed tearing through the essences so far. So, like I said, you start off with Infernium Essence. The first thing you do is after replicating it a bunch, or I guess if you don't feel like replicating it a bunch, you can just continuously make it from a mixer or whatever. Anyway, I just made one, and then after you replicate it a bunch, you can then, you have to centrifuge it for your basic elemental essences. Water, earth, air, fire. Um, And then we make seeds out of those. It takes 16 essence to make one seed. So you just get enough to make some seeds. You then grow it. And then you start with, then you actually use, here's the fun part actually. If we take a look at the uses of, say, that's not what I wanted to do. Whoops. Air essence. We use it in a mixer to make other tiers of essence. And we make enough for a seed, and then we can start growing that. For dye essence, exactly, after you tier up through dye essence, you can use it to make sulfur, glowstone, lapis, ruby, etc. So you start from low tier essences, you make enough of them to craft into higher tier ones, which you can then use to make seeds. And I actually had a lot of fun doing that. I've just been doing that on demand over here, where I just on demand order some essences and stuff or whatever. Right? Let's say I want to make uranium, because in order to like burn things like basalts, I need 12 crown 4 Li, which means let's see. So we're burning basalts, we're burning Blitz, Blaze, and what's the last one? Oh, Blizz. We're burning Blizz. And this requires Crown 4 Li, Crown 4 Li. Oh, hold on. Crown 4 Li, Crown 4 Li, right? Which means that I have nothing in these four that are burning 15 crown. So I need to burn something from 15 crown in order to so I can continue the chemical loop, right? Well, I've decided that I want to burn uranium essence because out of everything that burns crown 15 Li, that's the one I want the most. Like pyrochlor, I don't care about this stuff. Tantalite, eh. Like pitch blend seems nice. Stibnite, eh. Cobaltite, I don't use cobalt for fucking anything, and I've got 4 million sources of sulfur. And I have tons of sources of arsenic as well from like Realgar. Like molybdenite, don't really use all that much molybdenum. Pyrolusite, magnesium is not that hard to get. Bauxite, I have 4 million sources of aluminum. Ilmenite, 4 million sources of it. I don't really need all that much titanium. I have plenty of sources of titanium. Chromite, like who cares? Like chromium, I don't care. I have other sources of this. Chromium is not that hard, and we don't use that much stuff of it anyway. It's a trace element. Like who cares? I don't care about that stuff. But pitch blend has got like things like thorium and uranium in it, and I obviously, since I have a lot of happy nuclear reactors, I kind of like that source of thorium. I think it's very nice. Um, like the deep slate line has been keeping up, and it will probably keep up for some time, given how goddamn insanely fuck off fast it is. I totally mega overbuilt that, and it's crazy good. But out of everything here that I would want to grow, I would have to say that Uraninite is probably the most important. Like most of them really aren't that great, personally. So it's less of like this one is good and more of a this one is the least bad. So I mean, I don't like all of the stuff I either like enriched uranium. I don't care. I have so much of that stuff. Like the uranium itself. I mean, the uranium is actually kind of nice. I am kind of low on uranium. It looks like I have a good stockpile, but I turned off radon so I could build up some uranium for uranium triplatinum, so I can order some EV field emitters. I'm actually all right on radon. I should probably level emit this. There might be some better ways of getting this stuff. Um, I mean, I can distill ender air, which is technically something I can do now because I do have. I can eventually essence burn air essence for this. But sweet. Radon, we can make that by distilling it, and that's pretty much it. I can also fuse mercury and gold, but mercury fucking sucks. Um, Exotic gas siphoning comes from the end, and the end is like post ancient Stargate. Like that's on your way to Maxwell. So this is not happening anytime soon. Um, Abydos is more reasonable. That's after Classic Stargate. Uh, this, by the way, this exotic gas siphon multi-block is, if you look at it, it's sick as fuck. This multi-block looks awesome. I don't know if I'll ever be able to build this. Naquita, high power, atomic casings. It's probably the worst of it, right? Uh, yeah, Trinaquata alloy and stuff. But like this multi-block looks fucking amazing. Abyssal Harvester. Ugh. Let's see. So can I actually gas siphon on Earth? Oh, I can. Nice. Oh, it's just like a better air collector. That's cool. Oh, it's a distillation tower and air collector all in one. So I might have to build a couple of these just because they're fucking awesome. Anyway, um, so over here, I do have some centrifuges here, is what I've noticed. And these centrifuges are only a temporary setup. The reason why I need the centrifuges, and I definitely shouldn't have built this many, this is totally overbuilt, um, is for actually getting the Bazal's essence originally. You have to centrifuge life essence, and life essence is fucking obnoxious. It has a 1% chance at HV from nature essence, so I'm just endlessly. I could build a higher tier extractor, and I probably should, and it would be like 2% chance and way faster. But I already have to wait to make the uranium essence because look at this. I have it set in a batch of 64. Oh shit! I can actually make this now. It finished growing. Um, Last night before I had enough of, I believe it was nether quartz essence. Because the nether quartz essence and lead essence are so nested, like lead essence to make one lead requires 17 stone, which requires a bunch of this stuff. Nether quartz requires, a bunch of this other stuff as well. Like dye essence requires a bunch of this crap as well. It was a lot of nested crafting I had to do, and it was like a 650,000 kilobyte or 650,000 byte recipe requiring like over 500,000 of each essence. It was crazy. And now that it's grown, it's done. So we can see it mix and stuff. Did it finish? Wonder what you're waiting for. Might be on this backside. I don't like how it's not working. It just normally works. What circuit number are you? 25? 25? Are you not a circuit 25? You are a circuit 25. Oh, this is an IV recipe. Shit. Okay. Well, I'll have to fix that later. Anyway, so I'll be able to turn that into seeds, and I'll be able to start growing uraniums, some pitch blende and stuff. And like once you burn it, you get like a decent amount, like per essence. Like it's not like terrible. Um, the problem is the infrastructure behind it just doesn't scale well. Because I've been told, well, single blocks lag a lot because it's one single block, so every single one of these things is a separate tile entity. And also because it's not a guaranteed recipe, it has to roll chances a bunch, and each one of these things has to roll two chances. It has to roll on a chance on consuming the essence and a chance at producing the essence as well, or consuming the Infernium catalyst as well as producing the essence itself. So I'm sure these things scale like absolute dog ass, but there's really not any other options. There are no other options than spamming single blocks. And I don't know if these things are ever. Obviously, a few of them will get upgraded to things like LUV for growing Naquita, maybe, but I don't know. Um, I really liked the mixing of lower tier essences into higher tier essences, so you can make seeds and then grow them and just keep going up the chain like that. I thought that was a ton of fun. I had a lot of fun doing that last night. But that being said, though, I think mystical agriculture is getting fixed or changed. I don't actually. Anyway, um, I don't know if all of it needs to change. I don't know how. I think the biggest thing. I think honestly, after playing with a little bit of mystical agriculture, I think it'd be fine if it had multi blocks. I don't think I'd mind it all that much, honestly. I had a lot more fun with it than I thought I was gonna. I think like the mixing of the essences and stuff, and just being able to order it over here with this request or subnet made it a lot more fun. But it was legitimately a lot of fun to like tear up stuff, and it was a good time. Um, but yeah, a lot of these machines are gonna get ripped out. Like once I have the life essence, and I don't need, or once I have all the Bazal's essence and stuff, Bazal's, Blitz, etc., the Elemental Blaze essences, this is gonna get ripped out because I won't need it anymore. It's the only recipe that I actually give a shit about. Technically, you can also centrifuge life essence for Enderman, Slime, and Prismarine. I don't care about Prismarine. It's not useful for me. Slime, I can just make Slit Take Spores. And Enderman, I have so many Ender Pearls. I get them from sieving sand. It's like it's not a freaking problem. So this is the only recipe that I actually need to centrifuge over here. So that'll get ripped out. Um, Once I get Cryptand, this will get ripped out and swapped with some replicators. Uh, the mixers will always stay because obviously I need them. Um, so I don't really know what kind of recipes, how I'm gonna fit in all the different like the replicators I'm gonna need for all the different tiers of essence. But that again only really depends on how far I go into mystical agriculture. And the answer is probably really not that far. Like, there's a lot of different essences and stuff here, and I'll probably only produce like the scant few that I actually need for stuff that I absolutely want. Like most of the stuff I just like don't care about. Like my ore processing system is fucking amazing. So 90% of these things just don't matter to me. Redstone might actually be nice because redstone makes crushed raw redstone, which gives you a chance at cinnabar. And there's no other way of getting cinnabar. And trying to get mercury any other way fucking blows. Like you can get mercury by centrifuging redstone, but it fucking sucks. It's way better to get it from centrifuging cinnabar. But cinnabar only comes from crushed redstone, but you don't get crushed redstone. The only way to get it is from mystical agriculture. So, like, especially if I want to use this stuff, I I hope I don't need this stuff for something. Hop Prismaline? Is this like an ingot that gets used in things? I don't know. It's hard to tell. I doubt it, personally. But I don't know. I haven't checked every material. It doesn't look like it. I think it looks like Dragon Steel. Ugh, I need Dragon Steel. There's so much cool stuff I want to do. Ah! It doesn't look like you use any of that stuff over here. I'm not surprised. Solarium, Melodium. Anyway. So yeah, we are making our way through, and I actually have like no quest completion because I'm really bad at quests. I'm really bad at claiming them and then, actually making sure I'm doing them in the proper order. I just kind of like fuck it, we ball. I don't even have the LCR quest done. I don't even know what this dependency is. Probably, have I done this one? It must be the processing line. Because the processing lines are really annoying because I just never pick up a bucket of the fluid. Like, I haven't done liquid silicone. I have to do all of that stuff. I haven't even picked up. Oh, good. I could just skip this. Done. Uh, I wonder if they added skips. Oh, they did. I don't remember if this was in Native 2. So I can actually go through and do a bunch of quests and stuff if I really feel like it. Um, which I don't because like the only thing you can use to buy are like some materials and stuff over here, and like there's nothing here that I would need to buy. Like actually, like I don't need 16 ingots. I mean, like even if I get up to like say like LUV, like what's this? This requires Naquita alloy ingots, which is post line. Like I think like once you actually have these systems set up, the amount you get from the shop just like is like worthless. I just do not see this being worthwhile for your coins. That being said though, I guess if you're not using them on anything else, I guess it's like all right and stuff. But like I'm not gonna spend 8 coins on some dog shit maintenance hatches and some LUV buses. I guess this would be nice like early game, but late game once you have all those coins, like like, what's the point? Oh yeah, gravel. Wow. Fantastic. What a great trade. Range 3. This might actually be like nice, just cause I get like the range and stuff. That could be cool. Oh, applies teleportation ability to tools other than travel staff. That could be cool. I don't know. I wonder if I could put that like on a drill or a wrench or something. That'd be neat. Um, I still haven't done anchors or whatever. I need to, but like whatever. I actually do want to come over here and we're going to talk about ore processing really quick, and then I'm going to finish off with some ore production stuff. That's going to get some changes. Ore processing saw like one change, and that was swapping this out with the multi-block because there's no EV single block chemical bath. There's only the big IV one, and tungsten was super duper ultra slow, and I hated it. So I fixed it, and now it's not slow. And I have good news. You'll notice none of these machines are turning on because I finally chewed through the entire backlog of ore I had, which was several million items. I had like 3 million crushed coal, like 3 million crushed sodalite, and a few 100,000 of like 10 or 12 other things, and it took fucking forever. I had so much AFKing just because I was playing other games in the background, and it finally got through all of it. So all of these except the sifter fucking blows. There's only one sifter over there. I need to actually fix sifter and actually upgrade it, but I don't really care because most of these things that it's sifting, I have a lot of already, and or I don't really need. So, electrolyzer's all done. Autoclave is done. Chemical work is chemical work is one thing. It does need to. I don't know why this is so slow. I think this is. I think I have to turn this on or something. I don't know what this is all about. This should be. It might just be really slow, but most of the mainline stuff is like done or good, and I don't really care too much about anything else. I do need to upgrade. There are upgrades here that could happen, like always. There's always upgrades, but it's fine the way it is. And I've way over invested in or processing as it is. I upgraded Platline last night with some there was two steps that were super ultra slow and I hated them so much. And it was making ruthenium tetraoxide and iridium metal residue. Both these things were super slow because after I processed all of my platinum group sludge precursors, I had like 400,000 of each. It was awful. So I upgraded these things with 16 amp IV energy hatches, and now they're super fast. And it probably was overkill, but it's fine. I also upgraded this one with a 16 amp too because this one was also super slow. I bet you're just slow. No, that's the molten ore mixture. Which one are you supposed to be doing indium? Oh yeah, you're just slow. I should upgrade this one. But we don't really need all that much indium. We have a lot. So it's like, eh. And like lead, eh. Zinc, because that's what we also get from indium line. Eh. Like, it's alright. I don't really need any of this stuff. It's all fine. Um, So ore processing could get upgrades, but it doesn't need to, and I've spent way too much time over here as it is. Um, Now, talking about ore production, going into Ada 3 basically invalidated the Cobbleworks modules, because what they recently, in Ada 3, there are these infinite drives, infinity cells of not just the cobblestone water, but also of sand, which is like dirt cheap. Once we have Cobbleworks, you could just make this instead. This is cheaper than the Cobbleworks. It doesn't require power. Uh, Dust and crushed blackstone. So we don't need any of these Cobbleworks. So I can rip all of these out. I spent so much time working to build them, only for them to immediately be invalidated by drives. Which is, I guess, all right, sure, whatever. So I can rip these out. So those are gonna go. So I have to reorganize how I'm gonna be doing a bunch of these rows. So I do want at least 2 rows of these sifters because these things are slower than I thought. At least the nice part about having the cobbleworks get ripped out is I can reuse all of those casings in more sifters, since they use a lot of the same blocks. The controllers are a waste, but they were always, they were lost the moment I upgraded to Ada 3. I should probably upgrade some of these casings and stuff. These don't have any gravel because I never set up a Cobbleworks gravel over there. Um, so yeah. Oh, I wonder if you guys can hear that siren. I hope not. Oh, and also good news. I can actually make void extractors now. Void extractors were locked to behind assembly line. Void extractor. They were locked behind assembly line because they require LUV components. So I can make these things now. I haven't given ore production a serious revamp in a while because I've had enough resources for a long time. I spent so much time focusing on ore production and ore processing that I had over time gone through so much ore that I don't really need more resources at this stage. Like, I'm good on virtually everything. Like, look at this. Look how rich I am. 6 million coal dust, 5.7 million emeralds, 5.6 amethyst shards, 5.6 million lapis, almost 5 million aluminum dust. Like, even the shit that I'm like quote unquote poor on, I have a fuckload of. Like, iridium dust, 36,000. Tungsten dust, almost 18,000. Like, what else is down here? Like, that I actually, like, maybe don't have a lot of. That's it. Like, everything else I have shitloads of. Like, quicklime, like, I don't use quicklime for anything. If we come back over here, like all those things, I've actually been swapping out for a lot of bulk drives because these things keep filling up pretty quickly. I have a ton of bulk drives over here. Nickel, sulfur, silicon, aluminum, silver, iron, lapis, dust, sodium dust. Like I'm loaded. I'm fucking loaded. So I don't really need to like look at all this bismuth. Like that's like a chance output of like tin. Like this is awesome. It also gets electrolyzed by something else. Vassarite or something like that. Anyway, so I'm rich. I'm rich as fuck. So like ore processing could get upgrades, and ore production could get upgrades. But they don't really need upgrades at this stage. Eventually, I'm sure they will, but for now, it's kind of like whatever. Eventually, I'll do it anyway, even though I don't need to, just because I like super powerful ore processing and ore production systems, and I really like that's what I like about Skyblock, our passive resource production systems. That's what really draws me to Skyblock packs like this. Um, so yeah, that'll be fun. So it'll happen eventually. So oh my god, I've been talking for a little bit over an hour. Um, well, so there hasn't really been any other upgrades, I don't think. I think maybe I swapped this one out. I don't know if this was the week before or this week, but these two got swapped out with fractioning just because they were slow. I ran out of hydrogen at some points a couple times, and that was not great. Um, that was it. That was the only upgrade that came over here. Was just swapping out some fractioning stuff. And yeah, I think I might have swapped a drive out or two over here for something larger, but I don't know. Nothing significant. Added a few more LCRs. I finally got nitric acid on passive. Or sorry, this is nitration mixture. Um, yeah, I have a few more. I have another row of LCRs that's almost full. So that's gonna be a problem because I kind of reused a bunch of these spaces over here for other things. I might try and batch a bunch of more nether stars, and then just rip all of this stuff out. It does kind of not. This sucks. I hate Nether Starline. I should not have built it the way I did and put so much work into it. I think I should have set it up where I expected this to last longer and be more useful than it was in the end, and it was not. This thing has never fully worked as way it was intended to do so, just because of how expensive it is to make Nether Stars originally. It's just super obnoxious. I thought that expense could be mitigated by making a truly passive system and I could forget about it. And the answer to that is no. The biggest cost is really just the helium. The helium is like this thing just chugs helium like nothing else. Um, I believe I don't know what this one is stuck up on. I probably just have to turn on all these the extractors again, which I pulled everything out of them just because I needed the things for like the autoclaves or whatever. Um, but eventually, a lot of the stuff will get torn out and rebuilt. I don't know where I'm gonna put it. I might put it somewhere over there in mystical agriculture, since that's the whole point of mystical agriculture is to make nether stars. Um, but yeah, so I don't know. That's about it for the craft. Uh, yeah, that's all I've got, which is quite a while, over an hour at this stage. Like I said, I was extremely productive. Oh, I also did a little bit of building, as you guys can see. Um, just sort of this base is not in like a great decorative position where I want it to be, but there's always so many different things I have to do in terms of decoration, that it just kind of falls off by the wayside. I've also stopped really using the conveyors because they're just kind of really slow. I do want to get some world anchors and or some travel anchors and stuff around. I do want to do a lot more building. That is something I want to do, but there's always this one more production, progression system. Oh, actually, crap! I just noticed. I also upgraded the CPUs. The CPUs all have at least four 64X co-processing units, and these took fucking forever. They weren't particularly expensive, but they have a ton of nested crafts, so they take fucking forever. Um, I have two that have a little bit more space to be really large. So I have some two oversized processors, one with 448 co-processors and one with 328 uh, co-processors. These things are big enough for now. I might soon swap out the crafting storages for something larger because there are larger ones. There are like the megas and stuff. Uh, I can do these because these get used for bulks, so I can probably go up to 4 mega crafting storages. And I can't imagine I would need anything larger than that for at least a good long while. Probably not even up until like Maxwell tier or something, especially since I have a sort of a I'm doing a lot of passive systems. I don't need to do massive on-demand crafts for everything. So, uh, yeah. So I did mention that I was super productive. I've had my best week of writing for like the first time in like since I came down with RSI. I wrote 2,000 words yesterday. I wrote 1,500 the day before that, and 1,000 before that, and I'm feeling pretty good, which is very very nice. I'm happy to be able to write again and stuff. It's been something that I'd like to. It also helps that I finally finished editing my huge backlog. I had a massive backlog of stuff I drafted ahead, and I eventually had to sit down and just edit a bunch of it. So I spent like a month and a half editing old chapters. And some of that did include drafting new ones to fit in between or replace ones that sucked. So it wasn't like I did absolutely no drafting. But I'm glad to just finally start writing stuff again. And I had to just throw out like the last 3 to 4 chapters that I had written originally, like towards the end. Like they just sucked. Something got away from me. It wasn't going in a way I liked. So I was like, fuck it, garbage. Gonna write something new. And I think it works pretty well. Um, so I've been really enjoying that stuff. Uh, man, I don't know how long Ishkatan is at this point. I think it's like 120,000 words. I'm like 10 or 15,000 words into book two. I want book two to be done in like March. I don't know if that's like a reasonable expectation to set or a reasonable goal to set, but I want to at least shoot for that. That'd be really cool. Because I mean, I do want to get published. That would be fun. I don't know whether I'm going to go like the self-published route in the end or try and sell it to like a publishing house somewhere in the web serial community, as there are web serial publishing houses. Um, there's one less. One recently exploded. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't need to know. It was quite horrendous. Turns out they had the worst contract ever seen in the industry. The most predatory dog shit contract literally ever written. Um, Unbelievable. Um, anyway, oh yes, there is a bender here. This bender is an on demand for buckets. I needed that for all the cards, the fluid cards for mystical agriculture. And as soon as I'm done, I might just batch like 1,000 buckets or something. These are so annoying. Here, give me like 2,000 buckets. Okay, go for it. After that, I'm just gonna rip it out. I don't really need it for that long. Um, anyway, that's probably it. That's it for this week. I've rambled on for over an hour at this point, and I don't know how many of you guys really want to hear about the book and stuff. It's a lot of fun to write, but I understand that the target audience for book I write and video game I play are like two separate circles and not a Venn diagram at all. Um, anyway, so I hope you guys have had a good week. My week has been fantastic. I hope you guys have a good upcoming week, and I will see you all again next week after Christmas.